Hello and welcome to the Motherload, the podcast for mums who work inside and outside the home. I'm your host, Dominique McMullan, Image Media's editorial director and mum to 2 boys. Each week, my guests and I are going to be talking about the realities of modern motherhood and reminding you that you're not alone on this crazy journey. Think of us as your new village. We're here to lighten the load. This week, we have an incredible guest. Sinead O'Moore is an absolute powerhouse in the podcasting space. She's also a business owner and mum to 2 gorgeous girls. Her podcast, Stretch Marks, has quickly become an absolute, authentic, beautiful space for conversations about parenting. And it's recently evolved to be about your 40s, not an area that we talk about enough as mothers. Beyond the mic, Sinead is a business owner. Her business is called The Brand Story, and she talks really openly about the real life struggle. She's passionate about the power of community, about women telling their stories, and she's a fierce advocate for women. I think we're going to get on pretty well. Before we get started, a quick thank you to the brands that make the Motherload possible. The Motherload is powered by Peugeot and sponsored by It's for Women, Avoca and Liffey Valley. So welcome.
Thank you so much.
Sinead O'Moore.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We've done this so many times, but in the opposite direction.
I know, it's so nice.
I know your life so well.
I know. Well, we're going to learn all about you today.
How uncomfortable is that?
Not at all. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, we're recording on a Monday.
Yeah.
So how was your weekend with the girls?
My weekend was good. It was good. Nobody's sick.
Amazing.
It is brighter out.
Hallelujah.
It didn't rain all weekend. All of these things. I got out on Saturday night for a neighbour's birthday. That was lovely. Yeah.
Good.
We're in a good place.
And what age are your girls now?
7 and 4.
Yeah. And what are their names?
Penny and Juliet.
Penny and Juliet. Gorgeous. 7 and 4. So you're a little bit further along the line than me. Is life getting a little bit easier now, do you think?
I'm always afraid to answer this with too much positivity because everyone's going to have something new occur, right? So school might be really difficult for you.
Yeah.
You know, different transitions hit different families in different ways.
Of course.
And I don't want to be that smug cow that's like, oh, it's so easy. Because next week my daughter might come home and there could be this whole new problem that I don't know how to answer. And there is that, you know, there's an awful lot more. So I have girls. So again, not to stereotype, but there's an awful lot more emotions and kind of socio dynamics that you have to navigate.
Yeah.
And maybe that is different for, you know, boys that are just kind of, you know, wrecking your home.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Which they are, yeah.
Yeah. So my eldest is 7. She's, you know, it's all about her pals now and, you know, play dates and parties and her social life. Literally my calendar is organising her social life, whether it's her hobbies or her sports or whose party is where. I am up and down to Smith's more than I care to be.
I've started just doing vouchers.
Yeah.
Just buy a load of vouchers.
Yeah.
I have
so
nice.
Really sound parents do kind of say it's just a £5 in a card.
Yeah.
Loving that.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So more of that, please, because it's just unsustainable. And also, you don't want your kids getting all that stuff all the time.
No, you don't need more big plastic things filling up your house.
Now, I do still also have a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
So I'm not fully exited the chaos. And I suppose the challenge right now is making sure that you are giving both of them what they need, which is very different right now. I feel like about 18 months ago, they were closer in needs.
Okay.
But now the 7-year-old is very much like, no, I'm a big girl now.
Yeah. I mean, I have 3 and 5, and to me, 7 does feel like a big girl.
Yeah,
like
she
7's
is
old.
Yeah. She's just doing her cartwheels and dancing to Tay-Tay.
Oh, like we all should
Like we all
be.
should. When did that stop?
Yeah.
Bring it back.
I used to love doing cartwheels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the 4-year-old's still writing on the walls, you know, so it's...
Yes, I know all about that.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, I referred in the intro to your history as a phenomenal podcast host, and I've experienced it myself. Talk to me about the history of Stretch Marks. and how it came to be and where it is now?
So almost 6 years ago, I started doing a podcast called Every Mum. And that's kind of what launched me into doing this. Now, I was doing it because I worked and led the team at Every Mum. And that's just where I was in my career. I would never have had the courage to be sitting at home being like, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start a podcast.
Yeah.
Like that just would never have, it's not in me to put myself in these situations. Hence my discomfort being here right now. But it had to happen. And it pushed me. It pushed me so far into it. And from day one, no more than you, no doubt, you're just like, I love this.
Yeah.
I love this. I was just in from maternity leave.
Yeah. So that's a big change too. So
you're huge change.
You're thinking differently already.
And I was lonely. And the thing that I needed was connection.
Yeah.
And the podcast brought me that. And it brought me these stories and these women and these experiences. Amazing. And then the evolution of that was stretch marks. And so that was when I went out by myself and I was like, I can't give it up. I can't give that feeling of connecting to this audience and us sharing these stories. And it was now at this point so valuable to me in my life.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I need it. I need to do it.
Yeah.
It was also still very pandemic-y. And
what age were the girls?
When Stretch Marks launched, Juliette was a baby.
Was she? Wow. Okay.
She was still a baby. And she's starting school in September.
It's like to go off on your own and launch a podcast with a small baby is a no mean feat. Like that's a big deal.
Well, I was back recording when she was 2 weeks old.
Wow.
I released an episode when I was in labour.
What? Sorry. What?
Now, like as in I pressed the buttons. Yeah.
Sinead, were you actually in labour?
Yeah, my waters went 8 days early. And I was like, oh shit, I have an episode to put out. So this was a Friday. So yeah, my waters went on the Friday morning.
That's unbelievable. Sorry, that just shows you it's like exhibit A of how phenomenal.
Like it was all done.
Are.
Like it was all done.
I know.
You know, I had the file sitting there. It was like, I'll just log on now into the platform and I'll just make sure that that's scheduled to go out. And it went out. And actually, it was a story of baby loss. And the story was centred in Holles Street. And where I was then labouring was the ward right beside it.
Wow, that's so powerful.
And I do think so. It wasn't like a mid push that I was like, oh, hang on now, you know, how are we charting? But throughout it, it did make me really think kind of how we're like, I don't know, again, that community and connection of we're all in this and any one of us could be next door.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I know
so that was
so
really,
much.
and that was, it was in the pandemic and it was 2020 and it was level 5 lockdown and on your own and all that kind of stuff, you know? So it was so essential. But yeah, to Stretch Marks, I wanted to be able to grow.
Yeah.
That was really important to me. And that's where the name came from.
Yeah.
That throughout our lives, we're constantly being asked to stretch. And all of these stretches, they may start in maternity, they may start in motherhood, but all of these stretches are going to leave their mark on us. And I wanted something that could grow with me and with, you know, as I aged, as my children aged, as the conversations that I wanted to have would evolve. And I was really specific around trying not to centre myself in, I'm only going to do, you know, the baby stuff from now on. So Stretch Marks was all about life stretching us and helping us to heal, not hide the marks left behind. And I think that's really important because I think we push it all down so far. And it has evolved again. So we're now into the 40s stretch.
Yeah, which I love. It's not a topic we talk about enough.
So I turned 40 in July, and no more than the motherhood phase, I was looking around at what I needed. So on that mat leave, I needed those conversations so deeply. And I don't necessarily need them in my life to the extent right now, but the conversations I do need, I felt I couldn't find.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, we're so underrepresented. It's like, as soon as you exit, you know, the marriage magazines and, you know, the early motherhood, I'm like, well, who's celebrating us now as we keep going, as we keep aging? who's going to celebrate us or give us the pep talk, or being like, listen, this is coming. You need to know what you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to do a season, and it's now evolving, and now I think I'm going to stay in this space of the 40s. And sure, look, then when I turn 50, I'll just keep 50 stretch 60s, and we keep going. That's the way to stay relevant, isn't it? I don't know.
So important, and it's so authentic, because you're having the conversations that you want to have, that you're literally replicating what you need.
Like I was out with my neighbour, and it was her birthday on Saturday, and she had 50 women in a room, and they were ages from like 35 to 75.
Lovely.
And every table I was at, they were all talking about where they were at in their life.
Yeah.
But a lot of the tables that I was sitting with, and the age of women that I was on, everyone was all like, oh my God, my anxiety is shot up. Oh my God, I feel like I don't know myself. I don't have confidence anymore. I feel like I want to, real rage with my husband, and my PMS symptoms are out of control. And then the next person beside her being like, oh my God, like, well, maybe estrogen will help. And they were like, well, tell me about this. And have you been to your GP? And all of these conversations around, well, my GP will give me this, but your GP won't. So you need to switch GPs to find someone who will. And it became like what I was hearing 10 years ago amongst women who were like, are you going to get pregnant? When are you going to get pregnant? Where are you going to have this bit? Like, and it just felt like, oh wow, I've been in these conversations. It's just the topic has slightly changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's still so needed.
It is still so needed.
And there is so much to learn from women sharing their own unique experiences, because no more than how each labour is so different, so too is a woman's transition in her 40s and how her hormones are going to shift and change. They are so wildly different. So instead of assuming that there's this like prescribed flow, maybe the podcast can help demonstrate that, like, well, that didn't happen for me, but it did for me.
Yeah.
And we won't start kind of going, it's not a checklist. It's check in with yourself and how are you.
All of this is that's the first most important thing. And what's really dangerous when there isn't enough education and there isn't enough knowledge is that people listen. It's Chinese whispers, and people listen to what Barbara down the road said, and then they think that applies to their lives, and things go wildly wrong then.
Or what their mother said about their experiences.
Yeah.
But I just think that I've seen the benefit of when we talk in detail and really intimately around the topics of like fertility, and your episode with me on birth trauma was sensationally helpful, and that's kind of, we need to keep that going.
Absolutely.
In different ways. So I haven't moved fully away from motherhood. Like we're all like, I'm 40, I'm still a mother.
Yeah.
But I just want to put the lens maybe a little bit back onto for the woman.
Yeah. Well, that's what this is about, the motherload, it's about, I always feel like there's too much emphasis when people have children.
Yeah.
Like, bless children, we love the children are great.
Spinners.
But there's too much emphasis on the children and the parenting of the children.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, to get all of that bit right, you need to get the mums okay first. And we're living in a society that is not supporting our mothers, is not set up to support our mothers in every way, from, government policies down to cultural attitudes. We're not being looked after. And I think that's what this is all about. It's something that, I have a fire lit in my belly.
Good.
Talk to me about when you were talking about motherhood and parenting. Were there any issues that came up that surprised you? Were there any kind of topics or themes that you thought, God, I wasn't expecting that?
Definitely, as probably the connection piece again. So having worked in the kind of information industry on motherhood, I was very informed on, from an expert level of what to expect and how this goes, and, what's the temperature for the bath, and you know what I mean?
Yes.
All those details. And I wasn't fully, or it hadn't dawned on my mind that I was going to lose connection with myself.
Yeah.
That I would wake up and be different. And therefore my relationship in the world would be different. Like how I would experience things would be different. how I wouldn't be able to sit in a room for a number of years without that, you know, real feeling of alarm bell.
Yeah.
Are they okay? Are they not okay? Should I go home? Should I ring? Should I do this? Like, or the default to say no. Like, I lived a very autonomous, fun, spontaneous, exciting. Now, look, I wasn't like in Vegas every weekend, but you know, it was like, should we go on a little break this weekend? Oh, maybe, you know.
Yeah.
And that's true for everybody. We give up so much of yourself.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting to kind of almost want to give it up as well. Like, if given the choice, if somebody said like, oh, I'll take your baby for the weekend, you go on off, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I
really
couldn't. Now, I think breastfeeding had an awful lot to do with that. And the hormonal, like, I remember sitting at a wedding. My daughter was 5 weeks old. It was thankfully, the venue was literally 500 metres from my home. It couldn't have been closer. Right. But she was 5 weeks old. And very early. Yeah. And I look back now going, what were you doing? But in the moment, because I was still carrying that old self of like, of course I can. Of course she'd be 5 weeks. Jesus Christ, I'll be there. No problem.
Yeah.
What are we wearing?
Yeah.
You know? And I remember having to get my mum to come over so I could put my makeup on.
Yeah. You don't even have that time.
What is this?
Yeah.
What is this? And then sitting at the table and getting, it wasn't like a panic attack, but it wasn't a panic attack. But do you ever know, like just before maybe something where you kind of get everything around you slows down and it's almost like you're observing the situation. Yeah. You're not really in the situation.
Yeah. An out of body experience.
That's kind of something. There was moments where it was kind of looking around going like all of these hundreds of like 150 people in a room. I was like, is she okay? Like, I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I need to go home. But then this resistance of like,
no,
we don't do that. Yeah. Like and then second time round, it was the pandemic and sure, I couldn't leave the house.
Yeah.
And whilst the experience of many first time mums found that really challenging, I actually saw this is kind of what nature wants me to do.
Yeah.
Like I get to just sit here and I get to switch off my, 2025 brain that's judging my lack of productivity and out in the world. And I get to curl up and sit here for weeks on end until I'm ready to emerge into the world. And I found that if I could go back to first time mummy, it'd be like, just sit down. Just slow down. I'm kind of though at the other end of the spectrum now where I'm like, okay, it's time to cut a couple of cords.
Yeah.
And push yourself.
How's that going?
Oh, I mean, they're probably ready, but my default is still to say no to things.
Yeah.
My default is still to assume, oh, I couldn't because I'm default parent and, I work for myself. I work around the hours of my children's various after school activities, of which there are many, who all require a different bag to be packed with kit. And even to be here, I had to leave the gymnastics bag with all the bits and pieces that were required in it. And because that's just the role that I've taken on.
Yeah.
So I do think, reconnecting to me outside of the home now is the next push. Who's she? I've done my time.
Yeah.
I've done my stint.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for it. I've worked constantly throughout it.
Yeah.
In all kinds of ways. But now I'm like, ooh, okay.
You're ready.
Well, I don't think it's also necessity in that I'm looking at definitely my 7-year-old and I'm thinking in the next few years even further, they're going to need me in different ways. And I hear from some women they need you more.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
They need you present more, even if it's just to be making sure that they're doing okay.
Yeah.
But I'm also scared that I'll arrive at a point where they will be so independent and I won't have continued enough things that support and fulfill me.
That's my big fear.
Yeah.
My default is yes.
Okay.
Not no.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, good for you.
No.
No?
I think good for you.
We meet in the middle. We coach each other.
Yes, let's. I listen to you and I'm like, oh God, you're such a good mom. You're such a good person. Like my default is yes, because I'm like, oh, I don't want that little bit of me to fly away.
Yeah.
I feel like it's this little tiny bird that I have to keep saying yes because it'll go if I don't.
Yeah.
And
it does go.
Yeah, and it does. I have felt it, and I need, like, I get my energy in my life. Like, I love being with my kids. Don't get me wrong. Why do we always have to?
I know, you don't have to justify that.
Why do we always
I know.
Why do I have to caveat?
Yeah.
But I get my energy really from outside, from talking to people, from being out in the world.
Hence me needing the pod.
So I do. My default is yes, and then I scramble, and then I learn the lesson. I'm like, I have to protect my energy. I have to have better boundaries. I have to foresee that I will be exhausted if I say yes to 10 things in a row. I'm lucky that I have a super supportive partner who owns his own company, so can be very flexible. Yeah. But like, the reality is, if I'm doing, a day and I'm away, or an evening I'm away, he then is looking after the boys, but then he'll work into the night to get the things done he needs to get done. It's like, it's always something that is going to suffer,
It's always something. But I think you are right.
I think you're right.
I think you need. I think had I been still employed.
Yeah, that makes it easier or different.
Yeah. The self-employed kind of hobbit life that I'm currently in has been incredibly good at servicing what I needed in the last few years.
Yeah, sure.
For sure. It has been an absolute godsend.
But I'm sure it comes with a lot of negative pressures on you too, though. Well,
this is the kind of thing that I'm coming around to. I'm asking, did it serve my needs, or did it serve my needs as a mother to my children?
That's a super interesting point.
And I really think that it served my needs as a mother to my children, which was my number one priority.
Yeah.
It somehow, and I think it's because I grew up with two very different parents, where one is a workaholic, and my reference point for how do you do work is intensely. And you love what you do, but you do it a lot. And then I had my mother, who was with us all the time, so my reference point for motherhood is, well, you're there, and I kind of didn't know like how to do both. And in this economy, like, I needed to do both, still do forever until we're like 68 or something when the mortgage ends. So that wasn't up for debate.
Yeah.
But it was, how do I do it and see them?
I know. Yeah. It's so simple. Just when you say it like that, it feels like it should be straightforward.
Yeah, it should be.
I mean, I even had this conversation the other day with my partner, who was like, well, if we could get help, how would you, where would we have help, or like a babysitter or a minder? I'm like, why? Right. I want to spend time with them. I don't want that. Like, I mean, I definitely want help, and believe me, ask for the help, and that has been a big lesson for me over the last few years. But also, I want to see them. I want to spend time with them. Like, in the time that I have, that's the only thing I want to do.
Yeah.
I fill up my cup and then I pour it all out all over them.
I also don't want to see them.
Oh, I also don't want to see them all the time.
So like, my youngest is like, she's in childcare.
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't want to make it
not
out
have
like
her in
some
childcare
at home. Like, she's in childcare.
Yeah.
And my daughter does a late after school twice a week until 4:00.
Great.
Because I do have my own business. I do have to work.
Your own business, and you have a podcast. Like, you are very busy. You have a lot going on.
Yeah. I've got 4 pods on the go, potentially, over the next couple of months.
No big
3,
deal.
Definitely.
No big deal.
Yeah.
So let's talk about balance.
No. Nice segue.
Yeah. Balance.
Yeah.
One of those. Balance and mum guilt are two words I find super triggering and get me actually very worked up. And
yes, they should.
Yeah. I feel like they're something that are sticks to just beat ourselves with. And actually they make it like we're doing something wrong. What do you think about balance? And what do you think about mum guilt?
Mum guilt, I do think is, well, in my experience, it just came with the programming. It was a channel I could tune into, like a radio station.
Yeah. Nice.
You know? And it wasn't, and I didn't always I didn't turn the dial all the time down to that, you know, but it was accessible to me if the right, you know, buttons were pushed.
If the mood took you.
Yeah. I didn't live there very long, probably because I kept saying no. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't put myself in a lot of situations where mum guilt was triggered.
Yeah.
The balance issue, I think, is unattainable.
Yeah. And
I think it is another thing that we will judge ourselves against.
Yeah.
Compare ourselves to. And instead of, like, what I hate is, are you finding balance? Why is it up to me again?
Yeah.
Why do I have to keep finding these things?
Yeah.
And why is there not a cultural system that delivers balance that I can exist within?
Amen. Can I get a hallelujah?
Like, do I have to go looking for it?
Yeah.
Why do I have to knock on doors and be like, I'm sorry, I have to drop my child to school at 8:30, therefore I can't be at the desk at 9.
Yeah.
Why is, and for that to feel, oh, she's asking for exceptional support.
I know.
It's like, well, actually, I didn't tell the school system what time to start at.
No.
Or, you know, not have a very good public transport network in this country.
The list could go on and on and on.
I am not to blame for that. I am just a citizen who is here trying to be a mother, trying to use her education to support an economy and try to take home a living so I can pay my mortgage. That's all I'm trying to do. But I have to find balance as well, obviously.
You need to find balance.
Yeah.
That's another job that you need to do.
Yeah.
Pack the school lunches, find balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's outrageous.
Yeah.
And we're living in an antiquated system that was made 100 years ago, which is just impossible to find any balance because it's the system, it's not you.
Yeah. Now, I do think the ambition of finding balance may point women in a direction towards some supports that they didn't know they needed.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do think the endeavour
Yeah.
to find balance is not to be thrown out.
No.
I do think, though, that it's an extremely personal metric.
Yeah.
And you need to check in with yourself regularly because the needs of your children and the needs of your career or whatever else is happening, you could get a diagnosis that your parent is unwell or that something happens and that balance quickly shifts. So feeling like you've got balance 3 years ago, even 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it might be totally different.
It might be totally different to you having balance today. So I do think that we as a culture should be promoting more regular check-ins on like how is your balance feeling as opposed to like go get it.
Yeah.
Just like how is your balance feeling? What is it that you think that you need?
Yeah.
Like those questions I think are really important. And I don't think we do it to ourselves. We don't ask ourselves those inquiries enough. So yeah, maybe like putting a little diary note of like pop up being like time to do your little inquiry and how are you doing, and
love that.
If somebody could design an app that you have to, I don't know, fill it in and they tell you, oh,
let's do it.
Because for me, I often hit the wall and then I'm like, oh, I wasn't in balance.
Oh, I'm exhausted. I know. I do too. Yeah. I think it's shifting priorities. It's recognizing that like what's really important this week and what's really important next week, and they're not necessarily going to be the same thing.
No.
And just making space for you to be on that priority list.
Yeah.
Like it's so easy to just put everybody else up above it because nobody's being like, hey, you know, make sure that you get a little rest. Nobody's going to say that to you.
Including, I mean, again, back to like extremely supportive husband, extremely like an amazing dad. But even my kids love when I'm not taking care of me.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, amazing. I get to have mom at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
To hold my hand.
Yeah. We're literally doing that at 4 a.m. this morning. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they love when we're not taking care of our own needs. You know, if I turned around and were like, no, I'm sorry. I am prioritizing myself and my sleep right now because that is what I have to do. Like, It doesn't work. It doesn't work like that.
No.
However, like every so often, if you can be like, do you know what? I'm going for a nap.
Yeah.
At the weekend, I'm just like, I'm sorry. Like, take them out of the house.
Or not even, I'm sorry.
Not even, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
As a mum, the reality is you spend a lot of time in the car. And whether you're juggling work, home, or both simultaneously, you need a car that just makes life easier. The other Image mums and I recently test drove the Peugeot 3008 and the 5008, and honestly, we were genuinely impressed. They're spacious, big enough for car seats, school bags, sports gear, with clever storage and really innovative tech. Plus, they just feel great to drive. The 3008 SUV is a perfect mix of style and practicality, while the 5008 has the extra space and 7 seats if you need them. Whether you've got babies, toddlers, or teens, Peugeot has thought of everything. When life is non-stop, you need a car that keeps up, and honestly, Peugeot just gets it.
Yesterday I had a really busy day, and I knew that I had a busy week.
Yes, I saw this.
So
You
I
treated
just went for a
Yeah.
sauna. And my brain, I had to do mental gymnastics to make myself go out the door and let my husband do bedtime. Mental gymnastics. Every inch of my body was like, they need me. I have to stay. I have to do bedtime. And the thing about bedtime in our house, if you do bedtime with my 3-year-old, it means during the night, he's waking up 5 or 6 times during the night at the moment. And if you've done bedtime, he'll call for you in the night.
Okay.
And my husband was like, just go.
Okay.
Stop talking about it and just walk out.
Is it that whoever was the last parent to put him down gets called? Or
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you're just like,
So it
Not
was not
me.
only just the sauna, it was going to be a full night's sleep
Nice.
after the sauna. Yeah. And I did it. And actually, the minute I was gone, I was like, this is a good idea. This is totally
this is such
fine.
a good idea.
Yeah.
But it is, but it's that thing of like, why do we think we can't?
Yeah. Why do we think?
Why do we think we can't? I mean, obviously there's a million reasons, but like, why do we
Yeah. Why do we automatically go to that?
think that we can't? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a real muscle that you have to flex and
Me being
learn how
here
to use.
Today, like, so me being here right now,
Yeah.
like, so we're meeting at 3:30, 4:00 is when I pick her up from the school. I drive her to gymnastics. She gets dropped off at gymnastics. I go up to the creche. I pick the other one up from the creche to go back down to gymnastics when it's now finished to pick them back up. It's a whole thing. Right, we've got a system. So I said yes to you because I wanted to do this and I wanted to do it for you as well. And I was like, I'll figure it out. Now the figuring it out happened. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have stayed doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's really hard.
Yeah.
As you said, that feeling of like, oh,
I can't.
I
I
can't.
shouldn't. I shouldn't.
I shouldn't.
More than
Well,
I can't.
it was for this because it is just driving them places.
Yeah. And that's
As opposed to the emotional support at night.
Yeah.
So for a long time, I never went away after my second. I was on after my first. We were pretty good. But even after lockdown, I think she was about 3 before we left the country together.
Yeah.
Was it just?
It's a long time.
Yeah, but I just fell into this kind of, co-sleeping. She'll need me in the night.
Yeah.
I don't want to put that on my parents.
Yeah.
And that's
big.
the other thing. It's not just the feeling of like my kids need me. It's if I'm not with them, I'm putting this on to someone else.
It's a big one. You're totally right. Yeah. It's a big one.
Yeah. And finding people that love them but also want to do that
Yeah.
is kind of a big ask.
Yeah. And that you trust then as well.
Yeah.
About that
And
too.
they're busy. Like offloading 1 is different to offloading 2. And
Yeah.
I see how much they like exhaust my parents, and then I feel guilty for that.
I know.
Not having left them,
Yeah.
just kind of, God, the duty that they have to serve.
It was something my partner said to me on the first night that we left the boys. And I was like, what if they're up all night long? And he's like, then they're up all night long. And then your mum can sleep for a week.
I know.
Because she'll have no one in mind.
I know, yeah.
It's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
If they're up all night long.
You're off the clock now till,
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, but you just see how
I know how
they go.
difficult.
Yeah.
I know it is, and it is challenging. It is. talk to me about community. I feel like stretch marks really built a beautiful community. Talk to me how important that was for you personally and how important it's been professionally as well.
So much. Because, you know, my self-employed hobbit life. I have always had a career around really interesting people and creative people and exciting projects and everything. It was just, it was a wonderful, wonderful industries. And yeah, certain things had to happen, and I don't regret where I have found myself. But one of the biggest problems is loneliness. Like, you do feel really disconnected from the world.
Yeah, of course.
And motherhood by its nature, I think, does that too. So when I became a mother, it was at a real transitional point for a lot of people's lives. You know, different people kind of either moved to Australia or kind of went down different paths. I don't know. So the gang kind of
dissipated a bit.
And I found that quite devastating. Like, and I think that's also why the podcast was kind of a real crutch. To me, it wasn't just work. It was something that I needed. And was being called to do, you know, not so that I could find like all these women, but actually they came with it. And then it was like, oh, wow. Oh, I like this. And I always feel like I can reach out to somebody now and be like, can I talk to you next Thursday for an hour? And if they're a stranger, they'll look at that message and be like, who is this person? I drop in that it's a podcast. And they're like, absolutely.
They're in.
They're in. And so over the last 6 years, I've had access to some incredible women who would never have given me the time of day otherwise.
I don't know about that.
Well, you know, but like, you know, they certainly wouldn't have come and would you want to meet me in a hotel room at 3:30 on a Monday, as we are now. You know what I mean? You don't get that. But I have connected with sensational friends, made amazing friendships as a result. But I've also seen what it has done for other people within the gang.
Yeah.
Because I get the messages, as you will now too. You get the messages at 3 a.m. You know?
Yeah.
When they've discovered it or they've found an episode because that's exactly where they're at in their life. And something might have been said that just kind of hits them and they're like, oh my God, thank you. And I've also seen, you know, how they support each other. So if I put up a poll or whatever and it's like all of this support just comes flooding through and it's all really like normal, you know? It's what it should be. It's just now it's done in a social app. And I remember, so one of the things, it's quite weird, but like, so a lot of people have booked where I've been on my holiday because they just thought, oh, that looks like a lovely spot. So they've all gone. And there was a certain kind of summer where like, it was, you may as well have had an embassy in this place. They were all like, do you listen to that? Do you follow Sinead? Do you know that? So they were all there anyway. And they were messaging me and I'd kind of put up a story saying like, oh my God, like how many Irish mas are there? Like all meet in the playground tonight to like have a drink. But one of them messaged to say that their child was really sick and they'd forgotten to bring like a suppository or they needed a Nurofen suppository. Basically their child had this soaring temperature and I'm going to say maybe an ear infection. But anyway, there was an emergency and they'd visited the pharmacy or the chemist or whatever and they couldn't get what they needed and it was 2 a.m. And their child was just screaming, crying and in real distress. And I got this message and I just like took a screenshot and like shared it back out and I was like, I know loads of moms are there.
Amazing.
If you see this, can you please message me? And if you have a Nurofen suppository for a baby,
don't say it worked.
I got a message.
No way.
And I was able to connect them.
Oh, that's amazing.
In this resort in Majorca. And she was able to give it to them. And it was just enough time for them to take they took the baby to the emergency room and got it sorted. But for that, like for those couple of hours, they just needed something. And it's just those kinds of things. You're like, this is mad.
Yeah.
that's mums supporting mums. That's motherhood, and you creating a community.
It's stunning.
To allow mums to do their thing.
And then you're like, all I'm doing is like using my thumb. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm just sitting here.
Really weird. Yeah.
Using my thumb and it's. I just thought
It's beautiful.
it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's so necessary. And no more than the mum guilt. Sometimes you don't need it.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you don't need to dial into it, and sometimes you really need to dial into it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, I think I'm there now in the other end when all these conversations were being had around like where they were at with their hormones or their aging or their careers or their juggle, or, you know, I'm like, how are you doing it? You know,
No, please explain.
please explain.
Yeah.
Open the floor.
Yeah.
I'm ready to, and that's kind of what the community, I was always interested in the next stretch ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to sort of observe and learn.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, okay, so when I was pregnant, I was obsessed with like, okay, give me all the breastfeeding information.
Yeah.
And then once I'd established breastfeeding, I was in like, well, how do we get them off the boob?
Yeah.
And, you know, what's the
Always
next?
looking to the future.
Yeah, what's the next one? And I suppose that's kind of what the new edition of the 40 stretch is allowing me to do.
So if we were Queen Sinead or President Sinead for the day, or Taoiseach Sinead for the day.
I'm never allowed to be queen in my home. I'm always princess.
You're okay.
Juliet is queen.
Do you want to be queen?
For the moment. Well, listen.
You are Queen Sinead for the day.
No pressure. Yeah.
You have a magic wand.
Yeah.
And you can make, maybe it's one change, maybe it's a few changes.
Okay.
To support mums who work inside and outside of the home in Ireland. Whether it might be a policy change, might be an expectation that's, you know, not being met or is too high, could be societal change, day to day, anything. What do you change?
So I would change things for the dads.
Interesting. Yeah, I hear ya.
Because the job still has to get done. Okay. Like the parenting and the work job, but the parenting still has to get done. So
Yeah.
I feel like we need more, we need a society and a culture to see dads as an equal participant from day one
100%.
in the parenting.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not the pushing, but but the role of parent.
Yeah.
We can't ever pursue this, you know, utopia where we can be fully immersed in our ambitions, our dreams, our careers, our hobbies, our caring roles in other places of our family. You know, we can't be all of those things unless from day one we are equal participants in the parenting.
Yeah.
And I think there is an ambition there. Like, I think this isn't a dad bash.
No.
They want to, but it isn't legislated for that they can be.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that we fall into the trap of becoming that role can often be because we are literally pushed into it.
Yeah.
You know, we go and we exit for X amount of months.
Yeah.
And I don't think that should be shortened.
No, God.
But I
maternity leave.
do think that we need the option.
Yeah.
Whereby if after a certain time both individuals decide, well, actually I would prefer, or it would suit us better, or I'm the breadwinner, I need to go back, but you step in.
Yeah.
That needs to happen. There needs to be more rotation, because if it's always women leaving the workforce for, you know, a year and then more if there is subsequent children, and dads being off for 2 weeks, we can't. How do we compete? How do we catch up?
No.
So my whole thing is we need more women in senior leadership roles everywhere for there to be real lasting societal, political, economic change.
Absolutely.
And if this week or the first 2 months of 2025 has not shown us that, okay, like we knew it before,
We really know.
we're really not in a good place.
Yeah.
Okay. We need more balanced leadership.
Yeah.
And we can't get there when motherhood continues to be this massive barrier.
Yeah.
And that is at a physical degree where we need to support women to get back to feeling physically strong, physically well, dealing with whatever pelvic health issues that may occur that prevent them from having the confidence to go to that conference where they'll be on their feet for 2 days.
Yeah.
You know, like everything needs to be putting her back together so that she feels at her strongest, and that they can exist as co-parents and co-providers, and go live their lives. And for some partnerships, she may still, or he may still, want to be that full-time parent at home. So this isn't like legislating, like, you all need to go, you all need to go to work all the time. But we do need to have legislation where people have options and choices.
It's recognising that every couple and every mother and every father, and every couple, you know, father, mother, whatever you are different and are going to parent differently and are going to want to have different levels of involvement.
Yeah. But to do that,
standard.
And to do that, there needs to be an environment in a workplace, right? So that's kind of more like my legislative wand. But within workplace, what I really hope for mothers is trust. Okay, to have a relationship of trust, of being trusted, of having your experience and what you've given to your employer and the contribution you've made to its success recognised, and for you to be trusted when you just can't do that day. Okay, you know, and for it not to all of a sudden 15 years of good service gets eroded because, oh, she's a mom now, you know, she's not going to work as hard, or oh, she has to go at 3:30. Okay, we need trust. This person has built up this legacy of excellence and education and experience, and they are of value, and they just need to be given a break. But I guarantee if we also had that culture where half the time it was him leaving at 3:30, we would not be so harsh on her.
Oh, everything you say, I'm like, yes. I just want to shout. Yes. Yeah, all of it. I couldn't agree more. And
all of it.
And actually, mums as employees are the most
so loyal.
Like, once you give them that bit of trust, oh my God, they'll move everything done. They are so empathic. They can, you know, they will lead with such courage. They will be the most time efficient employees you ever had in your life. They make decisions. They're just, there's so many qualities in a working mother, which is exactly what you want. You just need to let them leave at 3:30 to get the kids if that's what they need to do.
Stop ruining their nervous systems by making them feel so belittled all the time. Like their nervous systems are on fire and they are burning out. And if it's not motherhood that forces her to exit in her 30s, it will be literally burnout in her 40s. Because she's in survival mode all the time. Whereas if she felt trusted when she made that phone call to say, I can't today. But I will tomorrow. And she didn't have to carry that horrible feeling in her stomach of like, oh God, they hate me. I have to stay in the office until 9 tomorrow to make up for this. If she could just put that down for a while, she would actually be so much more regulated and so much more well for the legacy and the longevity of her career, because we can't expect women to arrive into positions of leadership unless we support the longevity of their career.
Because they should be in it for the long haul. And you know, when you're talking about men there as well, I think that's such an important point, that the men should feel equally like they can leave the workplace at 3:30, and equally like their nervous systems shouldn't be fried. You know, it's when I think about my boys growing up to be men, to be dads, that is what I want for them. And they're so different, the two of them. I want one of them, I feel like, would be the best to be at home. One is going to be like the CEO of FTSE 500 and shout at everybody. But I want them to be able to be treated differently and recognised like that. You know? Powerful words. Really, really powerful words.
How are we going to do it?
I don't know. This is the first step, but we are going to do it. If anyone's going to do it, it's you and me.
We're going to do it.
Yeah, we're going to do it. Okay, so I'm going to ask you 2 questions. The hardest moment of motherhood, or your like motherhood meets career journey thus far. And then the moment where you were like, beep, yeah, I'm actually doing this. Like, this is, I'm a god. I can't believe this is all working.
Wow. The hardest moment of motherhood, feeling like everybody else is kind of going on with their life
Mm.
and you're in a little bit of pause.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's twinges of resentment amongst, the cuddles.
Yeah.
And you feel horrible about yourself.
Yeah.
But how could you not feel that way sometimes?
Yeah.
Just feeling like, oh, that was a chapter that is closed.
Yeah.
And the little bit of grief around who she was and what she could do and the autonomous, bold, brave life that she could go after.
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of sitting there just kind of going, like, can I? Yeah. What? And and a what now? And I do think that what now is still there. Like, there's always a what now, because I feel like I'll always have my children.
Mm-hmm.
I will always have, even if they age and grow and have their own children, I will always be their mother.
Kids, yeah.
And I'm always going to be maneuvering and making my life malleable around them.
Yeah.
And therefore I'm always thinking of like, well, how am I going to do that?
Mm-hmm.
How do I make this next step work? Because they still need and want me. Yeah. So that kind of thing is the hardest. But in the flip of that moment where I truly felt at my most empowered was the moment that my youngest was 3 months. And I took a picture of myself holding her in like her mirror in our sitting room. It wasn't a very aesthetic pic, but because I wanted to capture the moment of me deciding for sure that I was going to work for myself.
Really? Wow. Yeah.
That I was leaving. I was starting my business. I was going to figure this out. I was going to make something happen. And it was like, I'm doing it. Like, I have this picture now, and we're not going off course. Yeah, we're going to do it.
Such a brave decision.
And she's starting school in September. So...
congratulations.
Now, I've no money or staff or anything, but
that doesn't matter.
Well,
it's that.
Yeah. But it was just like, okay, we're going to fiercely figure this out. Now, the context of that, it was COVID. There was no childcare for it. Like, it was this, I felt so powerless on so many occasions in that duration of our lives. Yeah. So powerless.
Yeah.
And this was a real bold reclamation of like, no, do you know what? I have done good things in my career. Surely someone can need what I can do.
Yeah.
And it turns out
they can.
They can, and they do. So
yeah.
We're still here.
Well done. Still here. What is one thing? I mean, 2 daughters.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you hope from watching you navigate the world and from doing all this?
Yeah.
What's the one thing you hope that they're kind of taking from you?
Well, they're taking a lot from me.
Well,
like my youth, my waistline.
Yeah, I hear that.
What do I want them to take from me? That they've options. That they are... that they can be accomplished enough to stand at many forks in a road and have options. And they don't need to stay in a system that isn't built for the road that they want to walk, whatever that is.
Yeah.
They don't need to stay in a system that expects them to be mothers if that's not what they want. They don't have to exist in a system that expects them to work 60-hour weeks and have 3 au pairs and never see their partner and never have friendships. Like, they don't need that. They can listen to their own intuition, work hard. Yeah. Like, you can't coast down the path. You still have to work hard.
Yeah.
And me being at that school gate at 2 also means I'm back at the desk many nights, from 9 until midnight. So it's not easy.
No.
But that you pick the options that just serve where you're at, and you can do it with a position of safety and confidence and feel the fear, do it anyway.
You're doing it so well.
And that I'm always here for them. Yeah. I really want them to take that I'm Like, no matter what problem they might have. Like, I'm like, well, she's 7. I'm 6 years away from, you know, cans down a canal. if we're repeating my life. I need to know that I'm the mom they can call.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
important.
You're definitely going to be the mum they can call.
I hope so.
100%. Sinead O'Moore. I'm going to have to leave it there. I really could sit here and talk to you for hours. Thank you so much for sharing and so open, and for all the wonderful work you do.
And you.
Thank you.
And you.
If you enjoyed this episode, you might also like to log on to IMAGE.ie or sign up to our Motherload newsletter, where there's currently a €500 gift bag up for grabs. Please also tell a friend about us. It helps us reach more women and men who need to hear these conversations. Thank you, as always, to the incredible brands that make the Motherload possible. The Motherload is powered by Peugeot and sponsored by It's for Women, Avoca and Little Bag.